say be who you wanna be. Come speak your mind. Be you. Get ready for the Nakid Truth. Dr. Kelly bringing it to you right on time. No half stepping. She's bringing you the Nakid Truth.
All right. That is right. I am bringing you the Nakid Truth. You know what I have to say? I love the theme song. I'm in love with my theme song.
Shout out to Brooke.
Yes, shout out to Brooke. Brooke Brewer, thank you so much for hooking us up. Team Rock, are you in the house?
We are here, yes.
Are we excited about our program today?
Yes, we are.
We have a special guest. Actually, he's been here before, so I don't know if we should call him guest. Maybe we should call him family. But we have the expert in nutrition. And when I say expert, I'm not throwing it around lightly. This gentleman knows what he's talking about, and you will see what we're talking about as we venture forth into our conversation about nutrition and fitness and overall health today. But before we do that, let's bring in our resident expert who's written several books and been in several reality shows. Of course, he is a man with a plan. He is my brother from another
mother.
That's Charity's part. She loves doing it, as you can see. Hassani Pettiford, are you on the phone and on the air?
Here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Had a wonderful week, wonderful weekend, and glad to be. This is I do a lot, but this is by far the most exciting thing I do all week long.
You know what? And I'm glad you said that, because we feel the same way. First of all, we get to spend time with you, and then we get to do what we do best, and that is to give the people information, the naked truth, unadulterated, and just no holds bar, right? Yeah. So let's bring on our expert, who is 25 years in this business. Mentor was Jack Lane. He has did everything, and he'll tell you more and more of all the stuff he's did. He's worked with some of the best in the entertainment industry as well as in the political industry, and just overall touched a lot of people's lives and helped people to lose a lot of weight on his program called the Diet Free Life. Yes, you can lose weight diet free, and we're going to find out how. So, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Robert Ferguson, welcome to the Nakid Truth.
Well, it's good to be here on the Nakid Truth.
Yes, exactly. Hey,
how many people laugh when they hear that?
This is good.
Nakid Truth.
Yes, I know it is. It's kind of funny, but you think about it. Diet free and the Nakid Truth should do something, because if you're diet free and you can be naked, that's.
Hey, I once heard someone share with me. His name is Mac James, a personal trainer. He said, if you want to look good in your clothes, do a lot of cardio. If you want to look good naked, you must perform resistance training.
Wow.
So
resistance training meaning weights.
Lift the weights.
And I was going to talk about that with you on the program too, because I want to understand what's the importance of weights. Is it, of course, it's toning, but is it taking your weight loss to another level? Is that what it really
weight loss
does?
to another level makes it possible for you to eat more food when you get to where you want to be. Helps fight off osteoporosis. Helps combat this thing called sarcopenia, which in Greek means vanishing flesh, because as we mature in life, we lose muscle. And as you lose muscle, your metabolism slows, so you burn less calories. So resistance training really is the fountain of youth.
Wow. Okay, so we want to dive into this now. We have Mr. Ferguson here, as I'm going to call him Robert from now on. I want to make sure you all knew, because he's going to be like, listen, I'm not that old. You don't have to call me Mister. But Robert is I just want to call you a nutrition genius. Because the way you break down things and how you give relevant facts to help us understand that a lot of things that we hear and a lot of things that we subscribe to are merely fads. But we don't know it, because the way it's sold to us through the media and through other sources, we really think that it's life or death, that we eat these things, that we do these things. And a lot of times we're still not achieving the goals that they say we'll achieve by doing the things that they say. So I want to break down those stereotypical ideas about, fitness, about weight loss, about nutrition, and we're going to start that off today. So tell us a little bit about diet-free life, and what does that mean? I mean, to me, when you lose weight, you need to be on a diet, and you need to be on a diet as often as it takes. So what's diet-free life?
Well, first, let me say thank you for the nice, kind words, but I am 100% a student in the game, and what I mean by that is that if I learn something new or better next week, I will be the first one to come forward and say, hey, what I said last week Well, I've learned something new, and I would want people to know the truth. So I would never just try to save face just because it helps me look good. I'm constantly looking for better understandings about nutrition, weight loss, all the things that help us live our healthiest life. So I always bring the truth, the best I know at this very moment, and I'm a student daily. But diet-free life really can be broken up into 3 different categories. You have a methodology, which is how the program works. And then you have a psychology, which is a big part of a diet-free mentality. And then you have more of a philosophy. And the philosophy is, I believe we should be able to eat foods we love and eat them in a way that can benefit us for our overall health, energy. If we have weight to lose, then that's great. And the methodology or the hypothesis is, I show people how to eat foods that they want to eat and eat them in the right combination so they can lose weight. And if you eat foods that you love and you're able to lose weight, then you're less likely to gain that weight back because you never had to give up anything. And if that's the case, I could have my Roscoe's chicken and waffles.
Which he did.
Yeah.
Which he did today, people. Yes, he did. Courtesy of Roscoe's across the street. He came into town. He says, is
Absolutely
there a Roscoe's
delicious.
near the Roscoe's Media Center? Yes, there is. So I want to ask him and take the opportunity to ask him, what in the heck did you eat over there that was fat burning? We're trying to figure it out.
Well, Roscoe's is known for their chicken and their waffles. And so because I wanted fried chicken, then the skin comes with a certain amount of carbohydrates, right? Because it's dipped in flour.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, then you don't eat fried chicken or fried foods like that with other what I call fast carbs, like mac and cheese, potatoes, bread.
Yes.
Instead, you go with all slow carbs. And I wanted the red beans, which is a slow carb. And then I wanted to double up on my my greens. So I have my collard greens and the fried chicken. And that's a fat-burning meal. And what's cool is if you're a type 2 diabetic, all you have to do is monitor your blood sugar an hour after you eat that in that combination. And you'll say, wow, I was able to eat that and my blood sugar levels didn't spike the way I would have perceived them to spike.
Wow. So because people are hearing you and they're going, hey, I'm diabetic or I'm overweight, and you're condoning me eating fried food.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, you're like, yeah. And guess what? You'll lose some of that weight. So the thing is you're saying that these foods in general are not bad for you. This is the fallacy and the myth that we've been told. It's the combination of.
Yes, but there are some foods. There's things called trans fatty acids. There's interestified fats. These are harmful, and there's data that supports that they're unhealthy for a person's body. However, just to kind of summarize how our diet-free life methodology works, one of the evidence-based studies that we did is we took type 2 diabetics. So everyone was confirmed type 2 diabetic, and none of the people were under the age of 35. The majority were in late 40s, early 50s. It was a combination of both men and women. We took 12 of them, and we had them follow diet-free life, and they could only eat fast food. So they ate fast food for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner. They snacked in between, and most of the snacks were packaged. So that means we could arguably say they were more processed. And at the end of the first week, everyone in our study lost weight. Everyone had the best blood sugar levels they had experienced in a very long time. And they're monitoring their blood sugar all day long because they're type 2 diabetics.
Right.
And they only could go to fast food restaurants.
That
every
is
meal.
Incredible. But they had to follow your program with the combining of the food.
So example, if let's say they went to the Golden Arches, then they were eating everything from like the pancakes and eggs, which is a fat burning meal. They were eating a fillet of fish, which is a fat burning meal. A Big Mac by itself is a fat burning meal. If they wanted to have a salad with the fillet of fish, that made it a fat burning meal. And at the end of the 7 days, everybody had the best blood sugar levels they had experienced. And we put this in front of some big companies, some health insurance companies, and the physicians and everybody was just, they were silent. Because you can argue when you don't have data. But when you have the data
and the people.
And you have the people and you saw the outcomes of doing this, you had to be quiet because it was a game changer. It changes the way we look at food. And it kind of scares some people.
That is incredible. Hassani, do you want to chime in?
As I hear you talk, I'm amazed that you could even do something like that. it seems so out of the box in terms of thinking. Let me ask you a question. You said something earlier. You said you're a student, and every time you come up with a new information, you like to share it, even if it may contradict what you previously have stated. It seems like in your industry, people hold on to agendas for 20, 30, 40 years for whatever particular reason, even though it's not beneficial to the actual people. So tell me, if you don't mind, what is the agenda attached to selling certain diets that don't benefit the people but benefit their pockets instead?
Well, I mean, if anyone heard what Hassani just said, that's the truth. And that's a big part of the problem that we have with bringing clarity to how people can actually lose weight and eat regular everyday foods.
Right.
Is because nobody wants to go back to their 5,000 clients and say, hey, you know, when I told you not to eat that, well, you could actually eat that, because that kind of doesn't make them look good. Whereas I believe if you learn something, you don't keep it a secret. You share the information because you remain a student. And going back to your question, Hassani, is that's the ongoing problem that we have. It's like the government, to a certain extent, knows that when they gave a lot of emphasis to fat being a big part of the problem for why people gain weight, and then 1977, 1978, everything went from whole milk to skim milk and low-fat milk and 1% milk, and you know the cookies and the chips, and everything was reduced fat across the board, and all we did was increase the total amount of carbs, and the composition of the food put us in a place where we're more likely to gain weight. And we know this not to be true now, but who's going to be the first person that comes up and says, hey, what we had everybody start doing in 1977 is not correct, and we need to make some changes.
But it's so interesting because your teaching, which is more accurate, sounds like a gimmick to the person who's been indoctrinated with the belief that you have to have certain foods or a certain diet.
Yep. And it sounds too good to be true. And so everybody looks at me like, huh? What? Because their doctor's not saying that. Even though when we look at physicians, and with no disrespect intended, you know, 25% of physicians, when they go to medical school, get some type of nutrition education. And of that 25%, the majority of them get anywhere from 12 to 24 hours of teaching or knowledge. So that's all they're getting. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you know, think about it. You put on the white coat, and almost all of your patients are coming in looking to you for guidance in nutrition, because all of them could use help there. And how many physicians have you met that doesn't want to take advantage of the opportunity to share information that can empower their patients? They don't want to look at their patient and go, you know, I don't really know. Right? Right. They got to always know. They're a doctor.
So then you find it increasingly difficult to really get the message out to affect people's lives because they just it's pushback.
It's pushback, and here's the bigger problem with the experts is that all the experts, when they talk about nutrition, they want to sell what works for them, not what would work for the person. So it's like if they don't like soy, then they'll say, oh, soy's bad. It doesn't matter. If a person is in a place where maybe they grew up in a part of the world where soy was pretty popular and was consumed regularly, if they're against soy, then they're going to be in soy. Same as, you know, you hear people say, if it's white, it ain't right. It's like, stay away from the white bread, stay away from the white rice, stay away from like foods high in salt. If it's white, it ain't good. But the reality is the majority of sanitarians in the world consume white rice. The majority of populations that live the longest are eating anywhere from 60 to 85% of their total calories coming from carbohydrates. Yet we live in a world where everybody says carbs are bad.
And that's interesting, and I want you to talk about that a little bit, because the soy milk in particular, you know, we're told that if you're a woman over a certain age, you want to watch your estrogen levels, and soy plays into increasing your estrogen level because it turns into estrogen. But that yet you're saying that is absolutely not true. So
well, the data is out there, so people can look it up. You know, go to a source where, like say, John Robbins, right? John Robbins, whose father and uncle created Baskin Robbins. He walked away from a fortune, and he's like a leader in the vegan world. So he has data on top of data on top of data that supports the fact that consuming soy doesn't create the outcomes that many people are led to believe it does. And his kids grew up on soy. Everybody's healthy. They eat it every day. I have a 5 and a 7.5-year-old. They've been consuming soy from, I mean, right after we stopped breastfeeding, they've been on soy. There's
soy
no
milk.
signs. Yeah, soy milk, soy products. Soy is our friend. My mom survived breast cancer twice. I recommend soy to her all the time.
Wow. And what are some of the, yeah, I'm just blown away because I started drinking coconut milk and almond milk in my smoothies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've stayed away from milk for this reason. And then of course here's another buster for you, Hassani. I believe that I'm lactose intolerant. I believe that I'm gluten intolerant. And so I asked Robert. I said, "Hey, this is what I believe I am. So I'm doing all these things." And he's like, "Huh?" Like you almost question his existence.
Well, one, like I asked you the question. I said, all right, like a lot of people are going to almond milk and cashew milk and all these different alternatives, which they're great products. A lot of them are good. But when you look closer at the nutritional profile of these milks, and you look at, say, regular milk or organic soy milk, organic soy milk's going to have, let's say, 6-7 grams of protein in a serving. Regular milk's more like 8, sometimes 9. But when you look at almond milk or rice milk or cashew milk, coconut milk, 1 gram of protein in the same amount of milk. 1 gram of protein. But if you look at almonds as almonds, it's a good amount of protein and fat. So how many almonds does it take to make 1 cup of almond milk?
You said 1 almond.
1 to 3 almonds.
1 almond. I'm doing all this for 1 to 3 almonds. Wow.
So 1 to 3 almonds to make it. So almond milk is primarily evaporated cane juice. And that's where you get this in water, and 1 almond.
This is cold-blooded. This is cold, but it's just hard to digest.
But you can Google it and you'll see.
Because you think about it, they must have to do this to sell it because the taste alone isn't like the most, enticing thing. It's an accumulated taste,
Yes.
or acquired taste, I should say. So, so once you acquire the taste, you really think, okay, I've really overcome this. I'm doing this for my health, and then you find out you're eating, you're consuming something that gives you 1 or 2,
Right.
maybe 3 almonds.
And it's processed. So when you have people that demonize processed foods, regular milk is processed. If I go buy a Kind bar or a Luna bar or organic bar, it's processed. The majority of the foods inside of Whole Foods is processed. So when someone says, well, I don't eat processed food, it's like, okay, can you please define for me what you mean by processed?
What food isn't processed other than vegetables?
There's a
Right.
process.
And even they're being
sometimes
processed.
it's negative and then sometimes it's positive. But there's a process to like most things. All meat, it's all processed. Fish that comes in, it's all processed.
Okay, so then we talked about them, and then you said the same thing. So your opinion about glutens? I said, wait, and tell them. No, wait. Tell them the story about being lactose intolerant, because I'm sure a lot of people, from different cultures will recognize.
Well, it's
this.
interesting, and everyone who's lactose intolerant could actually do this. I was part of a study about 6 months ago where we took people who were lactose intolerant, and we had them consume whole milk. So raw, organic, whole milk. And over 90% of the people didn't get the negative impact or responses that they would get from, say, 1%, 2% milk that wasn't lactose free. So the thought is, at this point until they finalize the study, is that when you consume something closer to nature and it's close to its original form, even though you may be lactose intolerant, for some reason it doesn't cause the same negative impacts.
Wow.
And when it comes to, like, when you mentioned gluten sensitivity, that's not even in a medical book, right? So celiac disease is in a medical book. So people who have a negative reaction to gluten, and most of those people are not overweight. They're thin. They have a hard time keeping weight on.
Right.
So if you're glucose intolerant or someone who's sensitive to gluten, then the reality is it's more in your head than it is in your body. And so my friend, or he's not my friend, but someone I know, and it was a pretty popular story, so you can Google it. He had a pretty popular restaurant in Hollywood, and he started pushing gluten-free pastas and different types of food. So all the people who were gluten sensitive were running to his restaurant, and everybody was loving it. 6 months later, he made a big announcement. None of his food was gluten-free. So,
But they were feeling better, and they were eating regular pasta.
Sounds like it's a mental thing.
Yes.
so I mean, it's crazy. And
It
even the
is
people, like I think Jimmy Kimmel did like a thing where they went out into the town, like a Jay Leno, how he used to go out
Yes.
and just randomly
Out in
ask
the
people,
streets.
hey, so are you gluten free? Yes, I am. Well, what is gluten? And like,
They
no
didn't know.
what is it in? They would find these people coming out of yoga studios. So it's crazy. There's a lot out there, a lot of misconceptions. It's very unfortunate because that's what blocks us from getting to solution and empowering people to live their healthiest life.
And we have tons of questions, but we do want to, recently you were on the Tavis Smiley show, you superstar, and you had a very good interview with him.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to show our listening audience some of that video. Okay, we're going to show that video in 1 second, but we do have a question from one of our listeners.
True. That's my only question. Thank you.
So
Wow.
he wants to get off of, he wants to be able to help aid him in recovering from the asthma and hopefully healing him from it. What do you say?
Well, whether it's asthma, no matter what the condition is, as we were talking earlier in a panel discussion, gout, whatever the situation is, whatever medications you're placed on, I always recommend that people, and you always hear even in the big commercials that talk about medications, at the end of the day, or when they're done giving disclaimers and talking about this and talking about that, they always say everyone's going to get a different response, but for best outcomes, become more active and eat healthier. And then we have to define what healthier will be. When you get your nutrition and your activity, your movement improved, all of those things contribute back to help whatever your condition is.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is.
So if you're, so now do you have to define what movement is?
Movement, meeting someone where they are. So my philosophy is if you're not exercising, what would you be interested in doing that we call exercise? Right? With 65% of Americans say they don't exercise because they don't have the time. And we also know that over 60% of Americans prefer to walk when it comes to any type of exercise.
Right.
So my thought would be, look, let's just get people walking. Let's find a way to get you walking as the beginning instead of having you do something that you're not sure if you're going to like it or not.
Yeah, and what happened to our kids, playing on the playground, chasing each other, doing hide-go-seek, dodgeball? I mean, of course, they probably don't play dodgeball, but our kids were a lot more active. We have, obesity runs rampant in our communities now. Why is that?
Dynamic answers, who knows? I think it's a combination of everything. I think we're moving as much as we want, and I believe that's going to be hard to fix that. I know being a dad of two little girls.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you do?
Well, I mean, we're real big and going to the park. We're in a position where we can actually do that. And I know that not everyone can, right? Because a lot of dads I talk to, they're working nonstop. And
they come home tired.
Yeah, and they leave that job and they go get another job. Right. And then sometimes there's another job.
Right.
So it's like,
right.
I feel
playing,
for them.
You're like, you need to play. And then the other thing is this age. We're putting the kids in front of the computer. We're giving them iPads at 3 and 4 years old, and they're entertaining themselves. Yeah. So they don't want to go outside.
No.
That's just what we did for recreation, but they don't have to do.
Well, we just introduced my girls to Wii. Like we have Wii, but we only use it to watch movies.
Yes.
And to access Netflix. But we just discovered, after like 6 years of having this thing, that we have games on it.
Right.
So we pull out the bowling. Well, my kids are bowling right now.
Oh,
they love it.
I like that. Wii is
it's
so
active.
fun. Yes, it's
very
interactive.
They love it.
So
I
it's
think,
finding something
yes,
that they can still be active in, even if it's on their level.
Yes.
Yeah. Hassani, you have any questions?
Sugar documentary, and it's really awakening to the power or the damaging effects of sugar. And many people are suggesting to completely eradicate it from your diet. If you were to do that, what impact would that have? And would it have a negative impact, or would it all be positive? And is it necessary to eradicate all forms of sugar?
First, I would say you definitely would not eradicate all forms of sugar. And the problem with a lot of those documentaries is that when they talk about sugar, they don't define sugar. So, for instance, when you look at broccoli, you may say, okay, that's a vegetable. But I also see it as sugar. Because broccoli breaks down and it becomes sugar in your blood. And it's different for different foods you're eating. So if I had bread, it's going to break down and become sugar in my blood also. And different foods break down and become sugar at different rates. And then when you look closer at like the carbohydrate that makes sugar in the blood, you have different types of sugar. So we talked about milk. You have lactose, which is a form of sugar. You have galactose, fructose, which people hear about. You have glucose. You have sucrose. All these different sugars. So when they blatantly and kind of really on these documentaries go, sugar's bad. Like, to me, I'm going,
sugar? Huh? Which one?
Which sugar?
Are any of them bad? Would you say?
I wouldn't say any of them are bad.
Okay.
Like, so I mean, we could argue and go deep into foods that have been genetically modified and start talking about the corn that creates the high fructose corn syrup, and that's another conversation.
Yes.
But if you took high fructose corn syrup and put it in a tablespoon and drank it, I don't think you're gonna die. You're gonna be all right.
So what if you? but check this out. They said there's so many spoons of that. So what if you did that 100 times in a day?
Yeah, but who's doing that? Like, I mean,
But they make it seem like if you're drinking cranberry juice, you're drinking so many teaspoons of corn syrup.
But it's all, again, it's all right. Like the glycemic index, which
Okay.
is what a lot of people refer to for the science of sugar.
Yes.
So the glycemic index was created for type 2 diabetics. It's an index or gives numbers of how fast the food you eat that's a carb becomes sugar in the blood. And they monitor it for a couple hours. And it's all based on 50 grams of carbs. And they compare that to pure sugar, which is glucose. So for instance, a potato, which I've shared this before, is given a number 95. So most people would say, a white potato, oh, that's high in sugar. That's high in sugar.
Right.
Well, potato chips are given a number 55. Potato chips, same amount of carbs, convert to sugar slower in the blood. It's more processed. Most people would say, well, potato chips cause you to gain fat. Why would that be lower on how it affects your blood sugar compared to a natural potato? It's because there's fat in the chip. So if I took butter and added it to my potato, I now improve how it affects my blood sugar.
Almost like a potato chip.
Almost like a potato chip.
Crazy.
So when the glycemic index was
crazy.
created, it was not created based on how we eat the food. It was based on eating by itself and at a certain amount. Right. Because you eat it with something else, like potato with collard greens, the fiber in the collard greens is going to slow down how fast the potato becomes sugar in the blood. And the steak or the chicken or the turkey, the protein is going to slow down how fast it becomes sugar in the blood.
Is God not genius? I mean, when you think about foods, the way they combine, the way they help each other, the way they help your body, and it makes sense that all food is not bad.
No.
Because, I mean, God created food.
And we keep manipulating it. Like if you went to Mexico and you got Coke, well, in Mexico, they use evaporated cane juice for the sugar. Okay. And at one point, we did the same thing, right? But then they discovered high fructose corn syrup. You can get more of that for a cheaper amount. So we started using that as a sweetener. So we brought in, like, you know, manufacturing and a new process that would save money, but we felt that we could still give the same product to the people.
So you mean our Coke is worse than Mexico?
No, they have a better, closer to nature Coke.
Whatever, oh
It's
my
a lot more
God.
potent.
Yeah,
Well,
you can feel it. Like,
Yeah, it's like you feel like you're on something. Like it's really strong.
Well, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we have the clip ready for your video with Tavis smiling.
Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis Smiley. Tonight, first, a conversation about healthy living strategies for communities of color with Robert Ferguson, CEO of Diet Free Life. Robert Ferguson is the CEO of the health outreach company Diet Free Life and serves on the Presidential Task Force on Obesity for the National Medical Association. The certified nutritionist and fitness expert has focused much of his work on developing healthy living strategies for communities of color, specifically in finding ways to make healthy choices more accessible to underserved groups. Robert, thank you for your work, and good to have you on this program.
It's great to be here.
Let me start with the obvious question, which I don't ask out of any naivete, but why is this issue so much more acute and so much more difficult to tackle in communities of color?
The first thing that comes to mind is that the people who are making the decisions as far as how we're going to help those people who are in need, there's a disconnect. And the disconnect is cultural. So the foods that they're bringing to the table aren't foods that people identify with. And so they're speaking to them in a way where people can't embrace it. And as a result of not being able to embrace it, everyone goes back to their normal jobs and go back and do what they're going to do. And the people who we want to help don't get helped.
For those persons who don't understand what those language and food barriers are, give me an example.
Okay. For instance, we have, as you know, quite a few people who are going to food banks, and they're getting that type of assistance. So if you're getting boxed cheese and top ramen and canned beans, how do you make that work when the people telling you how to become healthier, that dialogue is all about wild salmon, asparagus, and so the recommendations they're giving aren't recommendations that meet people where they are. And so a big part of our work is showing people how to make the most of their situations. So whether it's working and building what we call fat-burning meals with those types of foods, or showing people how to make the most of going to a fast food restaurant. Instead of demonizing the restaurants, we show people how to make it work no matter what their situation.
Ought they, I'm not calling names here, you're working with what you have, you're playing the hand you've been dealt. If you live in a community where you only have fast food choices, and I hear your point, you want to help people make the best choices that they can with these fast food outlets without demonizing the fast food outlet. But should these fast food outlets be demonized?
No, because there's a lot of laws in place so that when the foods do come to the table, as far as whether it's the Golden Arches or any of these fast food restaurants, they're not just making up things or just putting information out there or making food available to people that isn't fit for consumption. So giving them a little bit more credit for what it's worth, the goal is to show people how to make the most of those foods. And unfortunately, the big companies, the big fast food restaurants, they're having a tough time bringing clarity to the fact that we're not giving people food that we believe is going to kill them. We're giving people food that, you know, is part of our business, and it's food that we believe that they can consume and not hinder their health.
So, yeah, so wow. And you know what I really like about you, Robert, is that you're not in here. You want to center your information on the truth and the facts, how to help people have better choices. And so, you know, those choices are out there, and you know that people have to choose those choices for financial reasons. And so you don't go against them. You don't go against the companies that offer them these opportunities to eat at a certain price range. But you deal with, okay, now that you have these choices, how can you make the best choice out of the ones that's given?
Yes.
So, so let's say I'm pulling up in the McDonald's, Golden Arches, sorry, drive-through, you know, and I love to, you know, get the Filet-O-Fish combo, you know, with the supersized fries, the supersized drink, and the Filet-O-Fish. What would you advise me to do different so that I can start seeing weight loss?
Well, the fat-burning meal, if you get the Filet-O-Fish, is a fat-burning meal by itself. If you got that with a salad and you use the organic Newman's Own organic dressing that McDonald's makes available, that by itself is a fat-burning meal. Where people blow it is when they add bread with the fries. That's when they add to the thighs, right? So if you wanted a Big Mac by itself, that's a fat-burning meal. The problem is when you have the Big Mac with the bread, with the French fries and the regular soda, that's too many total carbs, too many total calories being consumed at one time, and it causes what I refer to as a food flood, and it sets your body up to be more of storing excess, you know, calories and causing you to gain weight instead of you being able to burn all those calories off.
So if you get a Filet-O-Fish and a salad, I see you, Hassani, then are you able to drink the soft drink, or should you leave that out as well?
I wouldn't, because you have a fast carb. So if you have 2 full servings of a fast carb, like bread and a regular soda, that's not what I would recommend. If you wanted something to drink, go with water, maybe unsweetened iced tea. But some people say, you know, I want the sweet tea. Okay, get the sweet tea, but don't eat the bread.
You got to give up something.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exchange.
Yes.
I mean, H.L. Hunt, who at one point was the richest man in the world, he was on Johnny Carson, and Johnny Carson said, okay, what is the secret to success? What is the secret? And this is what H.L. Hunt said. He said, decide what you want, which most people never get to a place of deciding what they want. So let's say I want to lose weight. Then there's a comma because he says, then decide what you're willing to exchange for it. So if I want to lose weight, what am I willing, keyword willing, to exchange for it? And then the last part of his success formula was establish your priorities and go to work. That's it. And the Iala Van Zandt would say, you got to do the work. So if we do the work, then great. So now it's just a matter of what plan is something you can live with. Do I want to restrict myself and be on a diet for the rest of my life? Or do I want to be able to eat the same foods everybody else is eating at the family reunion and still keep on the path of living my healthiest life? I like that idea. I mean, I want to go to Roscoe's. And here's the reality. If people can demonize and beat up on McDonald's or beat up on Burger King or beat up on White Castle or beat up on Taco Bell, we should all be beating up on Roscoe's.
It's true.
But we're not going to do that.
Absolutely
because
not.
we go, well, that's different.
Yeah, a waffle every once in a while is no problem now.
But McDonald's, they're bad. They are just bad. But the reality is, come on, let's just learn how to eat the foods we're going to eat anyway, when no one's around, and eat it in a way where we can get the results we want.
Perfect. I agree. Hassani.
Yeah, so I just need clarity because I go to Chick-fil-A as my fast food choice, and I'll have like a grilled chicken sandwich, and I'll take one, the bun, the bottom of the bun off, take the top bun, break it in half, and make that my top and bottom, so I'm having less bread. Now, you referenced the Big Mac, but then you said no soda, no fries. Are you suggesting that we also take the bun off of the Big Mac and just eat the meat, or eat the sandwich with the bun?
Eat the sandwich with the bun. Like the bun, like a Big Mac by itself, gives you about 45 grams of total carbohydrates. Okay, 45 grams. Now, what is 45 grams of total carbs? If you ate a regular apple, that's about 30 grams of total carbs.
Wow.
So a Big Mac, even though it has 3 pieces of bread, it's not a lot of carbs.
No.
And then, I've had dietitians and other colleagues that say, well, the fat's too high. I go, okay, the fat's, all right, let's say it's high according to the U.S. dietary guidelines. What would that mean? It's 50% of the total fat recommended for a day. So are you going to eat a Big Mac in the morning? Probably not.
Right.
Right? So
right.
Now, you
So
could
it
have a good
probably is
amount
gonna
of
be-
fat for dinner, but you're going to be okay. And that's all based on a woman, not even a man. So the reality is a Big Mac is okay. And then you have the people say, well, that's too high in sodium. Okay, let's go to a fine dining restaurant. And you and I, we've been to a nice restaurant. And I guarantee you the sauce in the fine dining restaurant is going to have more sodium in it than 900 milligrams that come with a Big Mac.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Hassani going to Chick-fil-A would have his sandwich without, having to do anything with the bread, but he wouldn't have the crisp cut fries. He couldn't have any of that.
Yeah, the fries. So if I was Hassani, if it was me, I like bread. So he could eat the bread. You could eat the bread if you're not eating the fries. But if he wants some of the fries, then I would cut the bread up the way he's doing it and then have like a half serving of the fries. 2 halves make a whole, and that's a fat-burning meal.
Perfect. There you go,
Wow.
Hassani. All right. Charity has an online question, so we want to hear from our listening audience.
Yes, we definitely have a question from our Facebook friend Rose Denny. She would like to know, when on a continuous journey to maintaining health, is there any specific food or ingredient you would suggest to absolutely avoid or stay away from for the most part?
Yes. You don't hear that often.
Well, I'm going, thank you, Rose. You got us an answer. Yes.
Yes, there are certain foods that I say to never consume ever. And it's really ingredients. So I'll give you 5 of them. You ready?
Yes.
I would say avoid this at all costs. You've heard of it, trans fatty acids. They're something that I would avoid.
Okay.
So when you look at the ingredients on any packaged product, if you see hydrogenation or partially hydrogenated oils, like it'll say partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, put it down and choose something else. That means there's a sign that there's traces or a significant amount of trans fats.
Wow.
The second thing is there's a fat called interestified fats. So if you just think of that's a long word. Yeah, that's the word that's a process of how they get the same effect of saturated fat.
Yes.
Helps with shelf life, same as with trans fats. So they can sit on the shelf for longer periods of time and the oil doesn't go rancid. Arguably, interestified fats is worse than trans fats. But because people are becoming hip to hydrogenated oils, they're starting to use other oils in its place.
To throw them off.
Yes. So you think you're not getting trans fats, but you're getting something that arguably is worse than trans fats. And then you have fractionated oils, which if you see that, that is a fractionated breakdown of a partially hydrogenated oil. So it starts to get like biology class.
Okay, so do you have foods that this stuff comes in?
It's in a lot of foods. It's
Like,
in
name
thousands
something.
of food. Let's pick up some crackers. Pick up some candy.
Oh, really?
Pick up a Snickers. Pick up almost most of what people are consuming on a regular basis, that's in a package, will have it. Even in Whole Foods, I picked up a product not long ago, and I sent an email to Whole Foods about this, and I think they corrected it because they say that they are the healthiest grocery store in the world. And if they're the healthiest grocery store, I picked up a product that had interestified fats in it, and I brought it to their attention. So they aren't, you can't just go in blindly and think, well, if I buy it at Whole Foods, then it's going to be okay.
Doesn't, because it's money making
Yes.
businesses.
I mean,
And you know, and then I think that sometimes places like that, they learn as well by people
Yeah.
who, like you, have been educated and say, you know, you need to remove that.
yeah, same as, I mean, not long ago, like 2002, like I wrote my first book, came out 2001, and we were talking about trans fats and how to identify trans fats. 2002, I watched Dr. Oz on a program where they brought up trans fats, and he was like, so explain, what is a trans fat? So he was the man. He was making appearances on
Major
Oprah,
shows, yes.
but at that time, he didn't know what a trans fat is. And at this point, he may not know what interestified fats are. I don't think he knows that fractionated oils is something that you want to avoid. But it just takes a while for people to get it. And until that time, we just count on the fact that people are giving us the right information.
Okay, so now speaking of oils, you know that some people got on a big kick. They started using olive oil, and they would, you know, fry their chicken in it, you know, fried shrimp, you know, fried, you know, cook, you know, turkey meat, whatever, you know, for tacos, use cooked turkey shells. But you were saying that is just really not good.
Yes.
So why is that? Because a lot of people are hearing us and they're going, you can't use olive oil? Oh my God. You can't use grapeseed oil? Because these are the things that they're told are the healthiest choices.
Well, here's the reality. The worst oils to cook in when you're going to heat it up, fry it, saute, would be vegetable oil. It's high in omega-6, which is a healthy fatty acid. But when it's higher in omega-6, it's more inclined to cause inflammation in the body. And there's a lot of conditions that big part of the problem is that it causes inflammation. So vegetable oil is something that you don't want to use. Like, they should just get rid of vegetable oil. Another oil that you want to be careful of using when it's fried or stir fried or deep fried would be olive oil. What happens is when it gets hot, it changes chemical structure and it goes rancid. And it can cause some serious damage on a cellular level. So those oils aren't good, and it causes the food, because it doesn't have a high smoke temperature, it causes the food to hold more fat. So if you don't want the food to hold more of the fat, then you go with a high smoke temperature, like peanut oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, avocado oil, and all of these are refined oils, meaning when
They
you
can
see
handle the
refined,
temperature.
yeah, they can handle, and people go, oh, it's refined, so that means it took some of the nutrients out. Yeah, but nothing that's going to cause any damage. It's just going to be a better oil for you to use based on how you're cooking. And so
coconut oil, you said.
Coconut oil is
good.
another good one. I wouldn't deep fry it because it's very expensive. But like if you're going to do eggs or like a stir fry, just put some coconut oil in there. That's a great oil to use.
I know, Hassani, it's amazing. You know, I mean, people are using, and if you guys are using olive oil, you need to really, really pay attention because it could turn into a carcinogenic.
Yes.
I mean, it can, a carcinogen.
Olive oil
cause cancer.
is best used on raw foods, like a salad. If you bake something and it cools down, you just don't want to be heating up the temperature of olive oil. And grapeseed oil is another good oil, but it doesn't have as high a smoke temperature as avocado oil or some of the other oils that I mentioned, like sunflower and safflower. So, there you go.
Hassani, you have a question?
I'm just saying, all we use is olive oil. That's what we were taught to do. So it's just amazing. I need to keep you in my pocket everywhere I go, Robert. I mean, what, you know, how could I find out more? Because unless I'm following you in every single interview, what book, what program, what app, what can I take advantage of to become an expert for myself, like you?
The best thing is, I have a diet-free life system, and to get the system, or to at least go on my free newsletter. So if they go to dietfreelife.com, I have a free newsletter that goes out once a week. And our goal is just to give information. We talk about products. We'll encourage certain things, keep people engaged and inspired. And then I have a free app out there that you can download.
Nice.
Diet Free Life is free. And the goal of the app is to get people eating every 2 to 3 hours. And when you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, you're constantly keeping your body in fat burning mode, and you're less likely to overindulge.
So you log in and you track.
You just get a little reminder on my phone, and everybody's walking around with their phone, so why not be reminded through your phone and let your phone be your assistant?
So it reminds you to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of that, we talked earlier about you going to Roscoe's, and you said that you had greens, you had fried chicken, and you had beans and rice. But what I did like, Hassani, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, so, I asked him, did you have a waffle? Because to me, that's one of the best things at Roscoe's. And you said no. You said, but I did get some cornbread.
Yes.
And he says, but I'm not going to eat. I'll eat it for my snack. So I'm not going to eat it now. I'll eat it in 2 hours for my snack. And therefore, I stay in fat burning mode. And I thought, now that is genius. Now, even though my mind went to, you mean to tell me you can't have your cornbread with your greens? So, but if you kick in, and you just want the cornbread because that's your thing, and that's, you need that, and you can have that 2 hours later with some butter and not feel guilty, that's something that's doable.
And remember, because let's say on Monday you step on the scale, or Friday you step on the scale, which is recommended. Once a week, step on the scale.
Okay.
If you eat like this and step on the scale in 7 days, you're not going to be heavier, and you're not going to be the same weight. You're going to be smaller. So if I'm able to eat that way and be smaller, why wouldn't I do that? Why would I deprive? That's the thing I'll never, ever get, you guys. Because I meet people, it's like, and they go on all these diets, and then they know that they can eat regular, everyday food. I can show you pictures of pork chops. I can show you pictures of food that diabetics were told they could never eat again. Today, when we did a seminar over at the church, we had a woman stand up and say, look, since I started this diet-free life, I no longer use insulin.
And 13 pounds lighter.
Yeah, and she's 13 pounds lighter, and she's eating great. She's eating foods they said she couldn't eat.
Lovely.
I didn't know she was there.
Right, you sure
I
didn't.
didn't plan
It was
her.
a big surprise. You didn't plan her. You didn't. It was.
And if you remember last time I was here, we had a nurse that stood up who was down 75 pounds, who was pre-diabetic, who had high cholesterol, and she's like, hey, I've been doing this program. I'm down 75 pounds. I've been a nurse for 28 years. I'm in the best shape of my life.
It works.
So
if they're interested in finding out more about the Diet Life program, and because you have a detox.
A detox?
Drop it like it's hot.
You got a shirt today?
Yeah, I got a shirt today because
we gotta
I
get
did
you a
detox.
shirt, Hassani.
Yeah, you have to get a shirt, Hassani.
Love it.
I mean, is it 8 days or is it 7 days?
6 days.
6 days for the detox, and it's just 6 days of you eating really, really clean, and then you go into the diet. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Sherry.
So
then you go into.
I'm
the
sending you guys both. I'm gonna send both of you guys. Hassani, I'll send you a 6-day detox drop tomorrow.
Look
Amen.
at that. All right. Charity, do you have a question for Robert, you or Anthony?
Yes, I do. As a young adult, sometimes we don't necessarily have all of the funds that we need to really, really live, a healthy life. Sometimes we can shop at Whole Foods, sometimes we can't. And so for young adults, what are your recommendations in terms of eating and staying, healthy?
So you're saying what can we get from the 99-cent store and still be healthy?
Well, no, I don't really, I don't know about the 99 cent store.
Say In-N-Out, because that's he's already given McDonald's, so we don't want to say that, but In-N-Out is a place you all go.
Sure.
Where else? In another place?
Well, I meant just a grocery store, like what
grocery
we buy
shopping.
that we can do, on a budget. I know that you work with all types of budgets, so I just kind of wanted you to share that in terms of.
Tell them about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay, so, and I hear like you have an idea of what would be healthy, right? So if we start with how we perceive healthy,
right,
that's where we really need to start. Because I had a client who only ate at the 99-cent store, only. And in about 17 months, he lost a little over 200 pounds.
Wow.
And he only ate at the 99-cent store.
What did he get? Elbow macaroni?
Well, think about it. When you see what happens is, let's say you have a group of people that'll say, well, if you go and eat food at that place, it's not healthy. But then I'll say, well, did you know that in McDonald's, they have Newman's own organic salad dressing? The people who don't go in there will say, oh, I didn't know that. Well, because you don't go in there. Now, if you go in a 99-cent store, you're going to find whole wheat pasta. You're going to find organic this, organic that. You're going to see that they have Cliff bars. The only difference between the bars there and the same bar at Whole Foods is that you're going to pay $3 at Whole Foods, and you're going to pay maybe 69 cents for the bar at 99-cent store. They're the same bar. But in people's mind, that's how they create it. So a good example of how you can make this work is I went on a TV show recently, and I was showing them how to make eating healthier work on a budget. And I took top ramen. So I got like a ramen noodle, right, which is Chinese made popular by the Japanese. So we had the ramen, and I boiled it up, okay, and we're talking about the noodles, and they're dried, right, so you cook them. And then I took the packet, and I tossed it. But I had a little bit of bunion, and I put that in there for flavoring. So you could use like a chicken broth or something like that. So now it cost me 25 cents to get this ramen. So now I got my noodles, which is a fast carb. And then I took some hot dogs. Now it could be turkey dogs, it could be tofu dogs, it could be beef dogs. And I boiled them, or I sauteed them, chopped them up. So I chopped up the dog, and I put it in my ramen noodles. So now I got noodles with the dogs. So that's the protein. So protein with the fast carb. And I like tomatoes. So I took some tomatoes, sliced them up real quick, and tossed them in there. Now I got the flavoring. I got a slow carb tomato. I got a fast carb with my ramen noodles. I got my protein, which is my dog. It cost me 90 cents to make that meal. Wow. That was a fat burning meal.
Wow.
Seal the deal, baby. Seal the deal.
Seal the deal. You know what? We're all going to live at Robert's house for a month.
And it was good, by the way.
So cute afterwards.
It was so good.
It sounds good. You actually made it sound good.
And speaking of hot dogs, I feel like some people, hot dogs is probably one of my favorite, snacks. Is there, some people have this misconception that hot dogs are like they're not made of anything healthy. Is that true? Like, is there anything that we shouldn't be eating because hot dogs may be, nasty or not composed of healthy things?
The fact that they're composed of like the guts and they're like the scraps of the animal.
I guess it all depends. So if you're at a place where you can afford to get a turkey dog or a beef dog, and you know that a chicken dog, yes, I would probably recommend you do that.
Okay.
But some of us may be in a situation where don't got the job. I had to go pick up a box at the food bank. You know what I mean? So make the most of what you have.
Okay. Yeah, right. There we go.
Yeah. And then keep it at 2 dogs. So 2 hot dogs would be a fat burning meal.
Gotcha.
So if I was at a Dodger game, I would have 2 hot dogs.
With the bun?
With the bun. The two slices of bun is my serving of fast carb. The 2 dogs is my protein.
Yes.
I top it with some mustard and ketchup, which is a condiment.
Yes.
I add a little cheese on there, which is a fat.
Whoa, Shonda. Now, what about chili?
Chili, that's my bean. That's a slow carb.
Okay, that sounds good.
I just created a fat burning meal.
That is awesome.
Done.
But don't add nachos.
Yeah, don't eat the chips. Don't eat the nachos.
Don't add some popcorn.
Don't drink the big 18
Don't grab
ounce
that cotton candy. Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yeah, don't get the beer, but you're good.
But you know what? You have to. I like Hassani's idea. You need to create like this little Robert Ferguson voice that when you're that he kind of senses what people are doing. Go, don't do it. Don't do it. Only that. Only this. How fun. Anthony, do you have a question?
I myself, I find that as you get a little older, in terms of working out, I do work out, I do lower cardio, but at the beginning of the show, you talked about like exercise and so forth. So what do you recommend on the exercising, and especially as you're getting a little older? I'm still young, but
Well, the older we get, the more we mature. Somewhere in there, make it a big part of your goal to perform resistance training.
Okay.
That really is the fountain of youth. I mean, there's like in women who are going through hormonal changes, yes, which I wanted to share today, is that woman should be hitting the weights so hard. I mean, she should be training like she's with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Really? So
yes.
and of course you have a great background because didn't you box?
Well, I've worked with a lot of elite professional boxers and athletes.
So the weights go against any type of chemical change in your body? Is that what you're saying?
Well, hitting the weights, like the weights is I mean, it really is like a modern day technology and an easy opportunity for us to look younger, to feel better, to tighten our bodies. Because muscle is the most metabolically active cell on the body, muscle cells. So they burn more calories than any other cell in the body. And when you're building that muscle, you're building more of those cells. And the more of those cells you build, insulin works more effectively. Everything just works better in your body. And you look younger.
That's awesome.
I mean, think about people who lift weights. I mean, like, look at Ernestine, who's, what, 78 now, recently appeared on Oprah. She looks phenomenal. You look at her back and you go, oh, that woman must be 27 years old. She turned around and she's 78. I mean, she still looks great. You know, one of my good friends is 113 years old, you know, and he lives, Bernardo DePaulo, he lives in Mesa, Arizona. He lifts weights, does cardio every day. Since 1901, he's been active since he was born.
That's incredible. I love it.
Hit the weights, baby. Hit the weights.
Okay, so we are coming to a close. I wish our program was 2 hours now. That's what I said when it was 15 minutes, and then when it became a half an hour, and now that's an hour. So, but we just, I definitely want you to reiterate to the listening audience how they can reach you, because I know they're going, we need this man. We need the information he has. So let them know.
Well, on a social media standpoint, I'm Diet Free Life. So if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, just remember, Diet Free Life. Go to dietfreelife.com. I'll just connect there. Get our newsletter. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always posting and sharing like fat-burning meals on Instagram. And then after a while, you start to like pick it up.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's what it is. It has to become instinctual. You have to be able to just go somewhere and know what to eat.
Yeah.
And then you're more comfortable with your choices, and you'll see the weight drop off. I'm going to work at this, Robert.
I'm telling you, follow me on Instagram, and you'll see us eat everything. You'll see wild salmon, and you'll also see a fried pork chop. I mean, I'm covering it all.
You are. You're awesome. Awesome guest. Thank you so much for giving us this information. It's invaluable. We're going to have you back. You know, there's Hassani. What was that topic we wanted to bring Robert back for?
There was a scientist in California at a university who did a study. He was hired by a pharmaceutical company who's using pesticides, or maybe a pesticide company that has, they were spraying corn, and the chemical was found to change the sex of frogs and was causing male frogs to have sex with other male frogs, thus producing babies. And it was about the chemicals that was found in the pesticide. So definitely wanted to cover that and see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, and as a result, they actually made a statement that grits was causing homosexuality.
Okay, you know what?
Actually,
I saw that, and I haven't read it, but I do have it in my queue to. I did see that.
So you read it, and next time we'll talk about can grits cause you to be a homosexual on the next episode of The Nakid Truth. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, it is not your abilities that reveal your true strengths. It's your choices. Good night.